Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to go through London session. Now, I've been dreading London session a little bit because there is a reason I don't trade it anymore. However, for the people that do, I thought if the other session's got a hour-long backtesting video, then London session will get one too, and we might even discover and learn new things that we can implement in the other sessions, such as US session or just trading US 30. So I thought we'd crack on. We're going to crack on as per usual. We are going to small it down and we are going to go in replay mode, and we're going to pick a first of a month. We're going to start there. We never get through the whole month, as you've seen. We normally get through 5 examples, maybe a little more, because just explaining everything and me waffling takes up half the time. So just for my sake of mind, if we go for the start of August at 11:30, and then we're going to go through the same sort of stuff that I was explaining in the other breakdown videos. Hopefully I don't look too ominous on that camera. It is very dark now outside. Every video we've been losing light, so yeah, without further ado, let's get into London session. So, London session, what do we use? We can use previous London session highs and lows, and high levels of support and resistance. And using our 30-minute structure, we find sort of certain zones. So what I've realized I've done, I've skipped too far forward here, but you could have caught a sell from this zone. Anyway, let's get into a proper breakdown. I'm just going to skip forward here. Flipping out. Definitely some sort of news on that day, but if we skip forward here, I don't want to skip forward too far. 5:30. Bingo. Okay, so again, same rules apply. Price opens, and we're looking at previous London highs and London lows. What London highs and lows are we going to mark? Well, price is near this zone, so it's definitely worth marking this zone here, along with this zone right here. Let me just check this one's in London session. Yes, it is. Lovely jubbly. So, knowing what we know with breaks of structure, if we get a break below here and a tap back up in London session, I want to see a further sell-off. The same applies if we can hold this level, come back up, get a tap back in and push further up, then obviously I want to be in buys. Now, you don't have to overcomplicate this. That is literally all it has to be. You don't have to find 10, 15 zones, 5 zones. You literally find 2 zones. We're near price, and what would make sense? That's what you got to think. So it would make sense to go short when we broke this level here. So what would we do if we broke it? We'd go short. And it's the same sort of principle. If we hold this level and give it a 5-minute bullish engulfing, then we can take it up and try find some potential targets, which again would be either high levels of support and resistance or London highs and lows, previous London session highs and lows. So without further ado, let us play price on here, and let us just mark out this zone as well, just simply for the fact that we could see a reaction off it. Let's say we caught a buy off here. It would be nice to know that we could potentially see some sort of reversal from this zone. So that could be either a first take profit or a sign to move to break even if we hit this zone. And the same rules apply across the board. If you see US session in this sort of similar situation, then you can either use it as a TP1 or a simple case of moving price to break even. I would definitely prefer going with the break even side of things, but it's completely up to you how you manage that trade, and then it comes down to your experience. However, me personally, I'd move to break even. So without further ado, let us jump right on into this example, and we're going to see what we can get. So just play price on a little bit. Price comes down here. Perfect example of selling. However, for me, we haven't broken a significant structure. So yes, it's giving us a look into what we could do for sells. But like I say, I only want to be going for sells if we break this level down here. But I want to be seeing buys from the tops of these zones. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in a sell position. So if we keep playing price on here, now London session is not as long as US session, so we get a tap in here, break above, a tap in, wait for a bullish engulfing. Are we going to get it? We got it. So again, this might come down to managing your risk to reward. We have a structure point here. Now the problem with this is we're at the top of the zone, so it's not ideal. So when you see something like this, it might be worth going in for less risk, simply for the fact that we still have all this zone here that price could repeatedly tap into and then push up. Yes, we've had a push up here, but that's nothing to say that it won't tap in again. And if it does, we've got a very fine margin of leeway. If it taps in again, I mean, we have literally this highlighted bit here as our sort of gap between getting stopped out and holding a winning trade. Again, it's going to come down to you, look, because there's nowhere else to put it. You can put it below the zone, but then you've got to think about your risk to reward. We have a feeling that price might react quite strongly off of this level, simply for the fact it was a previous London high. So again, is the risk to reward worth it? You can see by my screen, no. For the sake of the back test, and for the sake of my curiosity, I am just going to move it just beneath this structure point here and just below the 2 wicks, and that will give us a 1-to-1. So let's see what price would like to do, and it completely melts. So again, when you come to a trade like this, it's risk management again. It's understanding that it's not really worth taking the trade if you have something like this. You can get away with it sometimes. Other times, as seen here, you're not going to get away with it. We had our break above. We had our engulfing candle. The stop loss, though, is still in the zone. And it's very high up in the zone. It's not like maybe something like here where you can maybe get away with it a little bit more. And there's no previous structure point, like second structure point, that we can target. The second structure point would be all the way down here. And yes, that would be ideal to target as a stop loss. Because then you could argue if price broke down here, then you were in the wrong trade anyway. Because it was coming down. If it breaks that level, the bias was going to flip. However, in this case, it seems to have held and price is still pushing up. So, it then comes to the target. What can you target? Well, like we say, we have this level here, but I'm not going to aim for 0.4%. So therefore, it would be another trade where you wouldn't have gotten in, or you shouldn't have got in. Unless you've seen something that I haven't seen and you want to completely blatantly ignore this zone here, and shoot for the moon and stars to get a good risk to reward, for me it's not worth it. So a trade like this, like I said, I took it for curiosity, but you could quite clearly see when we got in there at the start that the risk to reward just wasn't worth it. We're risking 1 or 2% depending on your risk to make 0.4% or 0.8%. It's just not worth it. So without further ado, let's play it on, just because. Let's see if it comes to our zone. It just about does, and then US session opens, and it's US session, so we're not interested in that. So let us move on to the next example. Right, cool. So yes, I played price on a little bit. However, you can quite clearly see that we have a low here. And we have a high here that we can trade off. I wouldn't trade sells off of this level, simply for the fact that we seem to have started forming a range. Now when we start to form a range, my rule of thumb, as said in previous videos, you wait for an outbreak of the either top of the range or the bottom of the range. In this case, I'd want a break at the top of the range, and then we can take it further up if we get a retracement into this zone to push price further up. and obviously we wait for the valid 5-minute signal. On the flip side, we can see when we come down to here that price is broken, and we're going to wait for that retest. So on the 30-minute, and I've skipped a bit too far forward here, but on the 30-minute we're broken, and we're going to wait for a retest. Whether or not on the 5-minute we're broken or not, we will see. Okay, no, so we haven't had a retest yet, so let us mark down, just for it to sort of make sense here, this low. And if we jump to here, okay, we did. I mean, we broke the low, we got a tap back in, and the price started coming down. However, it looks like it's about to retrace back into the zone. But realistically, if I didn't skip so far forward, we should be in this little number here. Again, it's a bit unfortunate with the zone, because look how close we are into the zone. So you'd have it above this previous structure here. Ideally, you'd want it above here, but then you've got to think of your risk to reward, and you've got to think of the quality of the trade. So we have to go basically here, otherwise it's not worth targeting anything. If we're going to put our stops all the way up here, risk to reward, not worth it. So if we put our stops just above here, and then when it comes to target finding, and it looks like price is going to reverse, but when it comes to target finding, what targets do we use? Previous London highs and lows. So we've pretty much come to the low already. No, we have actually with this wick come to this London low. So again, it's being wary of where we've already come to, and is this now a point where you move to break even or you take profits, just in case price reverses, which again, because I've skipped too far forward, looks like it's going to do. So at this point, you'd either break even, which you would have been stopped out by now by the looks of things, or you would have taken profits. Now, in terms of where else to target, again, for the sake of the back testing, I'm not going to go all the way back and find you a London high or low just for us to get stopped out in 2 seconds. I don't want to waste everyone's time. But, you know, let's say there's one further down. Let's just see if our stops would have held up. But like I say, yeah. So we came down to this zone. We got a reaction like this, break even, or just take a bit of profit out of the thing. So it makes the loss a bit lighter. But let's just target for a bit further down. Let's see what happens. So basically, yeah, it just jumps around as London session always loves to do, in my experience. So we consolidate, and we push back down to this level again, and then price bounces. So you would have got away with taking profits, and in the end of it, I mean, you would have, let's say, you close position as soon as London closes, you would have made 0.4%. So not a losing day. So you got to give yourself a pat on the back and call it a winning day. But that's sort of the sort of adapting, and you've got to be vigilant, of these previous London highs and lows, because it's so easy to get caught out by them if you just miss them. Like if you miss something like that, you're like, well, why is price reversed? And then when you go back, once you're journaling, you can go see, I missed this London zone. And price just, I mean, you can see by the wicks here, even the US session is well, because we've got the US high here, is continuously bouncing off it. So it's hard because, I mean, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but at some point you're going to end up missing something. Still days where I miss certain zones that I should have been aware of, but then it's just a case of journaling, going back, writing it down, so when you next come to your chart, you can get your notebook out. Right. Try not to miss any zones. Just don't get carried away with marking too many zones. Again, there's a fine line with it. So you've really got to pick wisely. But like I say, I mean, you can see this. We saw the reaction, and then the 5-minute just held like this. So without further ado, let us get on with the next one. What are we on here? 3. Lovely. What are we on there? 2 forward. Lovely. Okay, so in terms of, I mean, this is horrendous. I've really picked a bad time to get in it, but because you can see this right here, this lovely bit of consolidation. So ideally, what I'd want to see is a break of either level. A break of this zone here, so we can take to the further downside, like such. Or a break of these highs here, so we can get a retracement into this zone here, which would look something like that. So we break these highs, for example, get a retracement, and then push back up. Ideally, that's what we'd be looking for. And that is what we're going to look for, because in the mornings, if you see something like this, just set an alert and don't bother watching it all day, because honestly, it'll drive you insane. So mark your zones, which we're going to do, and luckily we're not forward testing in this situation, so we can just wait for price to break one of the levels if it does, and it does. Hopefully I haven't skipped too far forward there, rookie mistake. Yeah, I have. Okay, great. But as you can see, price broke above, it gave us our tap in, and it gave us our engulfing candle, which is lovely. Again, with the zone, it seems to be a common occurrence with this one. We're still in the very start of the zone, but you just place it under the wicks and under this previous structure, because again, would it make sense putting it under, let's say, this structure, for example? No, it wouldn't. So, yeah, you have to just go with the previous one. Allow for spreads, obviously, and give yourself that bit of wiggle room. Remember that the zone is still here, so it is a possibility that price could still come back in and, well, just tap in, basically, and stop you out. So when it comes to zone finding, I mean, we all know what to do at this point, is simply get the horizontal ray out, and you can start drawing zones on, basically. So we have one and we have two, and you don't have to spend all day finding a zone. It can be, one of the most recent sessions that you can find. In this case, we just scrolled literally to the left. Because of the indicator, they all stick out like sore thumbs. So it makes it easy to find them. So try not to have colours that look the sort of same and you can't really distinguish between which, because that defeats the whole point of the indicator. But in this scenario, we can see that it aligns. So we had our push up, we had our tap in, and we had a further push up. Now, I never did, and I never will trade through sessions. Again, it's one of those things, treat it like our 5 o'clock rule. Either move to break even or take whatever profits or losses that you can before the other session opens. So, in this case, if you move to break even, I believe, unless we came down, no, you would have been fine. So in this case, you would have won the trade. But it's up to you to decide whether you want to hold through the session and move to break even, or just take your profits. Now, it's been a year plus since I've traded London session, so you have to do some testing for yourself in this sense if holding London through to US session is worth it for you. This is when forward testing and back testing really comes into play, because then it depends on you. But like I say, in US session, I would never ever hold through Asia session. I would just take my profits. It's up to you, and whenever I traded London session in the past, I never held through sessions either. That's just a rule of mine. But do some testing for yourself. I know it looks appealing when it's like this, but trust me, when it's the other way around, it's a lot less appealing, and then you start getting in your head about holding through sessions. So I've just completely decided to cut it off, and I thought, well, whatever money I have, either making money or losing it, I'm going to take it out. Treat it like the 5 o'clock rule. That's my rule, that's how I do it. Feel free to test it and use it for your own. Like I say, I'm here to give you all I can, but by all means, twist things up and change things up a little bit for them to suit you best. If you feel like you can hold through sessions, by all means hold through sessions. However, if you find out that it starts not working for you, then just stop holding through session. And it's stuff like that that you can learn and grasp for yourself. So when people say make a strategy for yourself, it's not a whole new strategy. It's just adapt from someone else's to make it yours. And that's what you have to do. But in this case, you would have been fortunate, and we hit the TP2 as well. So it would have been a good trade, actually, if you were to hold. It would just go against my rules. Right. Let us remove those drawings and move on to the next one. Very, very bullish day. What time are we on to? 6 o'clock, yeah. So if we skip 2 forward, what zones do we have? Right. I'm not going to draw rectangles for this. I am simply going to have to use the horizontal ray. But yeah, basically, I mean, you can literally see they stick out like sore thumbs, and this is the beauty of having the indicator, right? So once we have these, actually, just because they're in my face, I'm going to just drag them across. Oh, nice one. Well, I'm just going to delete my own thing that I drew. That's great. But yeah. Come on, William. Jeez. Right. So we have one zone here, which I will be using for a buy zone. I don't want to be selling unless we break this Asia low, and then I can use this low here to sell from. So we have our 2 zones basically that I want to be looking for stuff from. Now, you could see buys from this zone, don't get me wrong. The only problem is it could be a little risky just because we're at this structure point. If we do end up breaking, I only want to excuse me, I only want to be looking for sells. But if we get a valid and strong 5-minute engulfing candle close, then by all means I'll take it up to the buy side, by all means. And then of course you can guess what I'm wanting for the top zone here. I wouldn't be selling from this top zone simply for the fact that we're not breaking any structure to the downside. So I'm not going to be looking for any downside, right? So anyway, let's play price on here. Do we get a tap back in? We do, but we don't get a 5-minute bullish engulfing. We get a tap back up. And price seems to just drop. So we did end up going to the sell side, but don't let that distract you from, oh, well, you could have just caught sells from there. No, because that wasn't in our plan, and no, because we had no break of structure there. If we broke this structure and came back up here but was still selling off, you would think about it for sure. But I'd rather just see a break of this level here, a tap up, and then sells. So you have to follow your plan. Try not to get caught out like this, because it worked once or twice does not mean it will work over a year's period. And this is why we have these rules in place to stick to the trades that will hold over a year's period and stick to a plan. And that's the whole point of having it. And that's why you need to be disciplined to one strategy. Yet again, it is a new day, and we're going to be back testing. We're going to carry on basically trading and back testing London session. So I thought, since we're coming back on a new day, we're going to be trading GJ instead of EU, which I was doing some back testing results on in the previous section. So without further ado, if we minimize the chart here so we can't see price action, just so I'm not cheating any sort of system. And then let's go to July this time. We'll go to the 1st of July, and we're trading London session, so we need to be at this zone right here. So same rules are going to be applying as we were using previously, highs and lows or previous support and resistance levels.
So we have some zones here. What is price doing? Basically consolidating at this point. I'd like to see a break above or below these structure points before I get into anything directional based. If we open it inside this zone, it would be a riskier trade to take it up, and the same if we opened at the top and we got that bearish reaction down. I'd prefer it if we broke above one of these zones to take it long. Same if we were to take it short. I'd prefer it if we broke below this bottom zone here before we look for any sort of shorts, and that is sort of what we've been going for, because we've sort of created this sort of range, and it was the same situation, when we had this huge level of consolidation right here. We had a break below, we had a tap in, but then we came right back in and we started trading it. So we'd only then trade that if we got a break from one of the sides. So that's all we're going to look for. So if we jump to the 5 minute, and we're just going to wait for a break. So we had our break. Are we going to get a little retest, or is price just going to melt? Price is just going to melt. So in a situation like this, it was just simply a case of price never came back, and then you'd move on to the next trading day, which is exactly what we're going to do. So if we play price along here, wait till we get to Asia session, lovely stuff. If we remove these, we can see we've sort of started creating some sort of uptrend here. We have this high here, and we also have this low here that we could potentially see some buys from, along with up here. It depends. There's still a bit of Asia session left, so we'll see what price would like to do. But just looking at the price and the zones that we have close, we can clearly see that we're going to be looking for longs. So if we play price on here, let me just actually draw some arrows on. If we break this structure here and then get a tap back into this zone, then of course I'll be looking for sell-offs. If we come down here but don't break this structure, I'm still going to be waiting for buys off these zones here to take it further up. If we don't get that breaker structure, I'm not going to be interested in taking any sort of trade to the downside. So let us jump in here, play price on a little bit. Lovely, lovely stuff. Come on, come on, come on. There we are. Got a break below, we've got to tap in. Now we've got to break above, we're waiting for some sort of retracement. Back in, there we go. Do we get our engulfing? Yes, we do indeed. So if we slap our entry zone here, below the zone, below in the wick, or you could have it obviously below this previous structure point here. But for this one, we also have a structure point here. Here, that we could have it below, which would work for me. Targets, we have a 1 to 2 right here. If we play price on, unfortunately price is just going to melt, and melt it did. So the plan was followed and the rules were executed. So we can see here price it was just a losing day, and that's all it was. You could hold it down to this level of right here, and as we can see, we came up, reacted off this one too. So in terms of journaling, you could have said, oh well, it would have been better to wait for this zone to break and push up instead of just trading off of this zone here and hoping for a push up. When we had this zone here, you could say, I didn't understand that we could have reacted off this level the way we did, and then it would be something to journal and come back to. So in terms of a lesson, I think that would be quite a good one to have. So we got in a trade, but we still had this strong zone here. So something to write down, something to note back. So when you go back to your next one, you look at your book and you can say, well, it wasn't worth getting into. So if I skip price forward here, US session absolutely just dropped. So let me remove these drawings here. We're going to play price on. What time are we on here? 6:37. Lovely. Right. What zones do we have? We have this London low. We have this London high here. If I just put that zone back. And again, we have this zone here. So it's always worth just being aware of these zones. Like last time, we could see how it reacted just simply having them two zones close to each other. So with this one, because we've broken structure to the upside now, unless the 5-minute printed it already in this price action here, we'd only be looking for a break above, tap back in to take price up to this level here, where then we could then have a plan to move it to break even or take some profits out, because you could argue that if we came up to this price, then we could potentially reverse. So let's delete it and let's jump back in, because basically that's all really the zones we need to do. We don't need to complicate it with anything. These are the zones that we're going to be trading. So unfortunately we did not get that tap back in. But if we play price along here, we'll get a tap in. Do we get our engulfing? I mean, we had our engulfing before, in fairness. But what time are we on? We're still in good time for the session. So basically, yeah, be careful of this zone here, because price reacted off here. So this is when, if we do come up to this level, it might be a case of we might come to this level and reverse. When you have strong levels like this where price has bounced off multiple times, again, the support and resistance zones, is always worth having a withdrawal strategy in terms of taking some profits out, and it's always worth having maybe a break-even strategy to move it to break even once price reaches this point. Because a lot of the trades, it's not always going to hit take profit, so you have to be able to manage it, and you'll learn how to manage it the more trades you take, just as long as you make sure the trades you take are in your strategy and are in your plan. You're not just taking trades for the sake of taking trades. In this example, we got our engulfing candle here, break in, tap back into the zone, and we're pushing back up. Few levels we have to be wary of, where price keeps bouncing off of. These ones here, and then a further push up here. So let's just say and play price on. So right now you're either taking some profits or moving to break even. So for the sake of it, let's just move to break even. So our stops are, let's say here, move it into a bit of a little bit of profit to account for the spreads, because if you actually move it to break even, a lot of the time, if you move it exactly to the break even point, you're going to be losing money a lot of the time, whether it's $10, whether it's $100, pounds, whatever. So always have it in a little bit of profit just to cover any sort of negativity that your account might face. So we would make $20 instead of losing $20. You know what I mean? Depending on the account size, of course, it's all relative. So if we play price along here, what happens? So starts consolidating again a little bit, and then price in US session, well, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? It comes down, and then we can see the volatility that US session brings us, and it pushes all the way up. So it would have been a break-even day for me if I were trading this. And again, it relates back. If you're holding through a session, then you can see it. Then sometimes you're going to get lucky like this, other times not so lucky, but that is just the nature of the game. So if we now carry on from this price point here, if we just move on to basically the next day, then we should be able to give you some more examples here. Nice one. What are we on here? 230. Lovely. That'll do. So price is coming down to here. What zones can we mark? Obviously, like I said, you never see me looking back too far for zones unless I'm looking for a target. So you can literally grab some of these here, and this is all we use. I like to keep it as simple as possible, just because as soon as you start overcomplicating things, then it starts becoming a problem. So we have a couple zones here. I mean, this zone here is reinforced by this one here. Yes, it's not completely accurate. We would have to drag it down a little bit, but for the sake of keeping this zone valid, we're going to have it up, but we do recognize that this zone is there as well. Maybe that can act as a reinforcement, maybe that can act against us, but then that's up to us to read the market and read what it's giving us and then trade off of that. So we've broken structure to the downside. If we can see further sell-offs, I would happy to be seeing that as well. But the same goes if we break this structure point here, break above, tap back in, valid reaction. I'd like to see price go further up. However, be wary of this level here that could reverse price. Again, going back to what I keep saying, then you'd have a break-even point or a take profit, sort of, take some profits out of the market and hold the trade, or you could just completely take profits at that point. So they're sort of the two zones. Again, I mean, it's probably coming obvious now. If we break above, then we'd look for further upside, and if we break below this level, we'd look for further downside. I wouldn't look for buys from this level, simply for the fact that we got all this selling off, and you could say, well, look, what price did when it was around this area, it shot up. Yes, you could argue that. However, price would be too far down for me to be interested in any sort of buys. I'd need to see a break of structure, a tap back in for a further push up. But obviously down here, if we could keep pushing down, I'd wait for a retest, and then we could take price all the way down lower. So again, that is the game plan, that is the battle plan, and all we have to do now is play price along. So let us do that. Play price up and up and up and up and up. Is anything going to happen today? No. Not by the looks of it. No, so price just kind of dribbled out. There's not much you can do there, and I wouldn't like to be in that trade anyway. I mean, look at this. How many? What is that? Let's just work that out real quick, just for my peace of mind. 715 to 905. So literally, let's just call it 2 hours of consolidation. Crazy. So without further ado, we're going to move on to the next day here, just so I'm not short of examples. We could probably keep the same sort of zones on here. So that's what we're going to do. So we can see price Asia session didn't really want to make its mind up. We started creating this sort of zone and sort of range here. So again, you'd wait for a break of the zone. I mean, we can use this one here. If we get a valid break above these structure points here, tap in, then we can take it further up. Again, be cautious of this level here. It would not be an ideal trading day, looking at this so far. If we do get a break above, then we've immediately got a zone where price could reverse from. If we get a break above, then it would be a little bit better in terms of me looking at this chart and be like, well, this looks like a higher quality setup. Then if price were to open here, and then it's up to you to decide, well, would I take this trade here? Would it be worth it? Or would it be worth, even if I do get a valid setup here, just waiting for it to break this structure point here to push up? Because if you get in a trade here, likely chance is it's going to react off this zone. I'm going to stop you out. If you move to break even at that point, to break even, or it could just completely reverse price as it is. However, on the flip side, let's say we break this previous structure point, get a tap back in to the London low, and then price comes down. That's the only reason we'd be looking for sell-offs at that point. But again, be careful. I wouldn't like to be buying from this zone. Yes, price has reacted quite heavily from this zone multiple times, but until we get a break of structure, for example, this Asia high, I'm not going to be wanting to go into any sort of buys. Sells, sorry. Unless we get a break, no, buys, yeah. Unless we get a break of this structure, I don't want to be in buys. The same as if we don't get a break of this structure and a tap back in, I don't want to be in sells. So today, well, on this day, it wouldn't look like it would be a good trading day, but we're going to see what the market gives us, and it's back testing as well, so it's not the be all and end all. So we'll see where price wants to take us. So we open up. Do we get a break above and a tap back in? No. You see how price reacts into these zones though, and again we tap in. Now if we check the time here, 10:45, it's getting too close to London session close for me to be in. But yeah, like I say, we had this zone here. But if we go to the 30-minute real quick, we did break this structure and we did actually get a tap back in. So realistically, I should have been in that trade. However, I was caught out by simply the Asia high. So because the Asia high at this point hadn't been created, I just didn't think to look back. And again, it's a learning experience for all of us here. So yes, you should have been in that trade, but then it goes back to that point that would that trade have been potentially worth it, because you have a zone right here that it could potentially reverse off. So yes, we got a tap in, and yes, we got our engulfing candle right here, but then would the risk to reward would have been worth it? Because obviously we're not going to predict that this is going to happen. We're going to assume and estimate that it might happen. However, we have to be cautious of these zones here, just in case price would like to come up. However, in this case, you would have got away with it, but it's just all about evaluating how worth it a trade will be. So that's all it sort of comes down to. Again, a video with learning opportunities, especially even for me here, but it's just all about evaluating the quality of the trade. For me, like I said, we got this entry here, but would the quality have been worth it with this zone here? Up to you, and it's up to you to get in it with reduced risk, or you could just go in with normal risk and go from there. So a lot of me is teaching you the method, and then you sort of adapting it into your own sort of way, or you can just simply do what I do and find the results that way. So it's up to you guys how you use this information. Hopefully these backtesting videos have been useful. London session wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, to be fair. It's actually alright. So it's not bad going, but if you'd like me to do more of these videos, I can do, by all means. I quite enjoyed making them. I just waffle to myself for an hour and then have to go watch myself back for an hour, so it's fantastic, as you can probably imagine. So yeah, if you want more of these videos, I can do them, by all means. I'm here to help you. You've invested your hard-earned money into me, so I want to give you all that I can give. So basically that is that. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, I will go enjoy watching myself now. So fantastic. But yeah, have a great one.